Yeah, sorry guys, not sure what that was all about. My for some reason my camera wasn't switched on, even though you can switch it on or off. It's just automatic because it's a part of the laptop or whatever, the Chromebook, and my microphone just it was everything was working. It just StreamYard wasn't registering that they were there for whatever reason. So I did the usual and unplugged them. And when I unplugged them, it said, "You've unplugged your mic. You just said I didn't have one. So how have I unplugged something that's not there?" So yeah, so just have to refresh it all. But I'm here. I'm back, and we fixed it. At least I think so. As long as you guys can actually hear me. Oh, Mayo saying we can't hear or see anything. Oh, wait a sec. Let me see what that's all about. Hello, hello, hello. Seems to be working my end. Unless you meant before I came back on. I did leave a message in the chat, but not everyone might have seen it. So I can hear and see you. There you go. Great stuff. There you go. So this is the show before the show. Just a bit of a hangout, really, just because it's our usual 7 o'clock time slot, and I just thought it seemed a bit naughty just to kind of leave that time slot open and void in case people, had us in their diary to sit down and watch us at 7 o'clock. So we will start the actual show at 8 o'clock, and yeah, just have to close this one off a few minutes before that, just so we can load it up. I was just hoping one of the guys was going to be here to help me with it, but I know Whittaky's in work. Nimble couldn't make it, which is why the stream is later, because he's supposed to be heading this one up, which we planned a couple of weeks back, but well, about 6 or 7 weeks back. But he, his wife, had other commitments basically, so he can't make it till about 8 o'clock. And I don't know about Slurpee. I know he's on for the show, but I think he said he was busy at the moment. So yeah, so that'll be the main show, and obviously we'll have Magisto on for that as our guest. So just to let you guys know what we're doing, we're gonna be doing like a poll city tonight for you guys, just to get involved as much as possible on the main show. So there's going to be a main poll at the end. We're going to do not a tier list. We're going to do a bracket battle for you guys to pick your champion, and those are going to be going up for polls. And what we'll do is we'll count the poll as one vote in some cases. So in another case, it'll be different. So basically, we're going to pick out our best castle sets. Each pick 3. Magisto's going to pick what he thinks are the best from each of ours. So we'll have 4 answers in the thing overall, and then you guys will vote for the best set of the ones we've picked. So there'll be that. Magisto's going to be doing his best sets, his worst sets, and his most underrated sets. Each of those will be a poll for you guys to pick, and obviously the one he picks. So each of those will be a poll for you guys to pick what you guys think of the ones that he's picked out. With ours, like I said, me, Nimble, Whittaky, even though he won't be here, and Slurpee all have a pick each, 3 picks each, and Magisto will pick the top one of each, and then you guys all vote for that, and then we'll do so we've picked out 32 minifigs, a selection of minifigs from the Castle series, and we're going to be putting them in like a battle thing, like you do with like sports and stuff, where they face off against each other until there's one ultimate winner. So what we'll do is maybe with the first couple of rounds, just because otherwise we're going to be doing like 16 polls just for that. So what we'll do is the first couple of rounds we'll just pick between us, and then when it gets down to like the final whatever it is 8, we'll put those polls in the chat for you guys to pick, and then obviously we can talk about them while you guys are, and the poll will go out for about 5 or 10 minutes or whatever, or 5 minutes for each one. Just give you guys a chance to vote. So that's what's going to be happening in the main show. And I'm just here basically to warm up the seat for everybody prior to that. So, no glasses on. I haven't put my lights on or anything. I'm just kind of no proper intro or anything. We're just hanging out. And the one thing I did forget to do, I haven't actually finished doing the bracket. So I was hoping someone else was going to be here so I could kind of finish that. I got to just do it quickly on my phone. And also, I wanted to dig out some of my castle figs from the early 80s and instruction booklets and stuff like that, which I've still got all of. But I haven't had a chance to dig them out yet. So as soon as hopefully one of the other guys jumps on, then and they can kind of keep you guys entertained, then I will dig those out, and I'm going to show those off on the show as well. So, but unless he was out there, Nimble's going to be about 1/2 past. All right, mate. No worries. It's only so I can look at it. I'm going to try and do the brackets now while the guys are here, but I'll do the rest when someone else gets here because I'll have to go off screen and nobody wants to see that. I mean, I already had to start the show the first 5 minutes with a blank screen, so don't do that again if I can help it. So who have we got in the chat? And remember, guys, when you get a chance, don't obviously like this stream. If you haven't subbed already, please do so. I'd like to think everybody here has, but if you're watching this on replay, do that. There's another show going on, so make sure you like that stream when you get in there or prior to it. And I've put a question in the chat just to kind of get the chat warmed up while we're kind of interviewing Magisto. And the question is as follows, because I can't actually remember what I asked. Ooh, the question is, what, pray tell, is thine most delectable Lego castle set? That's the closest I can get to Old English. What, pray tell, is thine most delectable Lego castle set? Please have your say now. Well, I've put that in the main chat, in the main show. So go ahead and jump over in there when you get a chance, or when you jump over there, make sure you answer that question. Be nice to see what other sets people have pulled up, and maybe I can pull them up on Brickset because I'll have Brickset up anyway, and I can throw up a few if some people throw up theirs and see if maybe they're in on it. So in that chat, we've got Happy Sunday. Everyone's saying, never mind other ones. Yeah. Sorry, Papa Trip. It was a bit confusing. I didn't want to start that stream at 7 and make people think, because if people came along to that one, like particularly some of Magisto's guys came across to that one and were like, what's this? There's like just some random guy. There's no guest. There's no other hosts. We're not talking about Castle. And because obviously I'm free from 7, I didn't want you guys to have have that pet pinned in on your calendars or whatever, or penned in on your calendars. I just thought, why the heck not? Rather than do a black ice, we'll just do a pre-ice, whatever you want to call it, and just chat and just hang out a little bit prior to. And then it also gave me an opportunity to finish off some of this stuff, because some of it I need to do on this Chromebook as well. Because I don't know if you guys have ever set up a bracket thing before, but it's really hard to do on your phone, because the what you've seen on your phone is nothing like, because obviously it's going to fill this screen for you guys, but you can only see like a portion of it. And when you're trying to put all the different characters in, and they got to, you keep scrolling back and forth, and then you're accidentally putting characters in the wrong place, and it's hard to get them back out. It's a nightmare. So I'd rather do it on here, but I've got to load all the figures are all on my phone, so I've got to load all them up first, and then I can use this to drag and drop them. Things I do for the show. Anyway, who's out there? We've got Hoarder. How we doing, Will? We've got Mayo. How we doing, Mayo? Papa is out there. Paddy, Sarah, how we doing? Papa Trip is out there. And that looks like Nimble's out there. Might want to delay the schedule of the other stream by an hour. What? Wait. Oh, did I set it for 7? Ah, no. Yeah, that's my bad, mate. I set that one for 7. It was supposed to be 8. Why did I could have sworn I put 8 on there. Now I get why everybody was confused. Right, okay. Let me just change that then, because I could have sworn I changed it to 8 earlier. Let me edit that. Yeah, that's my bad. Good looking out, guys. See, that's what I need you guys for. Yeah, 8 o'clock. There you go. I've rescheduled it. Sorry, guys, and apologies for the confusion. I just thought it seemed easy to me, but I could have sworn I set it as 8 o'clock. I think I might have been thinking of I set a time schedule when I pinned. Sorry, when I put it on Instagram and on my stories, you can set a time there. So I probably did those two right and forgot to change this one because I've got my streams automatically set up at 7 o'clock. So I probably haven't gone on and changed, or I thought I have and probably haven't, because with StreamYard, if you're on the website or on the browser with StreamYard and you go out just to look at something else and come back in, it refreshes the whole thing. So I've probably just done that because, in fairness, I did set it up late. I was in work till like half past 11 last night, and I did a lot of it walking home at like midnight. So yeah, so I probably just not realized what I was doing. My bad, guys. Ultra's out there. I was doing Ultra. Wonder if you can guess my favorite castle. Yeah, well, Harry Potter ones aren't in there. If there is a Harry Potter castle, I'm not really sure. But no, it's just castle from the castle theme. The only thing that I didn't realize how widespread that was, because I always thought castle just continued in the vein that it did when I left it in the mid 80s. But I didn't realize it went down a completely different path, which, is kind of exciting for castle fans, I guess. And it would have got boring if they didn't do it, but also kind of frustrating that they got like Vikings and dwarves. It was no, again, because I think the people who are creating Lego are creating it as a fantasy thing. And obviously when, castle isn't, it's almost like, if we were doing World War II sets and then we started doing like jet skis, some of the soldiers rode in on jet skis, and they were using like, I don't know, dropping uh, troops were dropping out of the sky from Concord and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of, they've added fantasy to something that's, this actual history. So the castles and the knights and the horses and the queens and the kings and the jails and the peasants and the drawbridges and portcullises and everything that was part of the original castle theme is true. It's real. It's history. And then also you start getting trolls and gargoyles and glow in the dark ghosts and dwarves and berserkers and Vikings, and I'm like, it's a completely different era. Like there weren't even castles built when Vikings were invading this country, so I'm not really sure what that's all about. So Vikings effectively predate castles, but and then the rest is just fictional stuff. So I kind of got a little bit, when I was looking through, I was just like, what the hell is all this? But I guess they had to go somewhere with it over the course of time, and then of course it's spread out since then. So there's all sorts of random stuff. So even things like wizards and stuff, it's kind of fantasy, but it's also based on fictions, also based on fact. So those aren't really that kind of hard to believe. But anyway, I don't know. So when I was going through all the different castles and stuff, and I was just thinking, what the hell is like orcs and goblins got to do with castle? But yeah, so we're using the theme that Bricklink and Lego classes as castle. So anything under that umbrella on Bricklink, if you want to browse. But also, we did some of the collector minifigures series that don't come under the bracket of castle, but are probably the closest thing to it in terms of like knights and stuff like that. So we've done a few of them for the minifigures because there was so many to choose from, but some of the best ones they've done are some of the one-offs. Like I said, the collectible minifigures are some of the best ones, especially because they stopped doing castle a long time ago. So you're not getting a decent quality figures in the kind of modern era, apart from maybe the Bricklink designer series, and even that's only like one or two. So in terms of we either had to have figures that kind of were 20 years old at the newest, or we used a couple of collector minifigure characters. So we've done that. Do you say appreciate is a combination of your technical difficulties and guests not showing up on time? Yeah, kind of. There's no guests for the pre-show, so yeah, it's not a case of guests not showing up because we didn't have anybody scheduled for the pre-show. And yeah, technical difficulties. Yeah, well, in fact, not even my technical difficulties because I didn't do anything wrong. It was my my mic, camera, and/or StreamYard because I didn't actually change anything. All I did is switch my Chromebook off and switch it back on again, and everything worked fine. I didn't actually touch anything. So, in fact, the only thing I did do is unplug my mic and plug it back in. And as soon as I unplugged it, it said, "You've unplugged your mic," which, 10 seconds before it was saying I didn't actually have one plugged in. So, yeah, it's a little bit weird like that. StreamYard is. I don't have any problem with anything else, but so yeah, but and it could happen on the next show. That's the weird thing. Like I could this all works fine now, and I could close this one down, start the new one up, and that don't work either. So, but yeah, no, but no, there's no guests. So you're obviously bobbing in and out, Mayo. So you're in bits and pieces. But no, long story short, the main show starts at 8. This is kind of nothing. This is just me, just hanging out and chilling out and seeing if anybody pops in. And I've got to do a couple of bits ready for the other show as soon as someone else turns up. Like dig out my old instruction booklets. Oh, actually, those might be in here. Might not have to go far for those because I think I remember putting them in one of these trays. Oh. Ding, ding, ding. Ding, 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 ding. Yes. So I got this with all, I don't even know what this is, some kind of toiletry bag or something. This toiletry bag has been in my family for about 40 years. Because I'm pretty sure I used to use this when I used to go swimming with my friends to put like my wet trunks in. And then it was just like a family one that we all used to borrow when we needed it if we were going somewhere. But it's brand new. It's like brand new. I remember using this as a kid. So, it's at least 30 years old. Anyway, for whatever reason, it just got delegated to put all the old instruction booklets in, and here they are. There's not many Castle ones in here, I'll be honest, because I kind of fell out of love with Castle. So I started by myself. I don't think I ever bought myself any Castle sets. They were bought for us and for gifts and birthdays, that kind of thing. We had probably maybe 5 or 6 sets when I was really young. And then when I was old enough, because I think there was a hiatus for 3 or 4 years between the middle and the end of the 80s, where there wasn't any Castle sets either way, or there was very few. So when I was old enough to go out and spend my own pocket money, and I was looking at the shelves of Lego, which there wouldn't have been a lot then. You would, in the type of shops, because there was no Lego stores then. So the type of stores you could go in and buy Lego from were just kind of your local places, and they weren't like now where there's shelves and shelves of stuff. There might be 1 or 2 shelves, and they would be mostly like half the size of a battle pack, and it was generally space, pirates, space, pirates, and a bit of Castle. But they were kind of this kind of sort of size, these little type things, tiny little boxes like this. In fact, the box for this, I remember being actually quite big. It was like probably twice the dimensions of this and then thicker. Those kind of things. So those are the kind of things I was buying with my pocket money, because I never had the sense to be like, oh, I'm going to save up and get a big set, because I never saw the big sets. You'd have to get those from places like Argos in the UK. I remember going out and buying this. I thought that was pretty cool at the time. Buying that for myself. I'd saved up like maybe £1, £1.50 or £1.25. And I was like, oh, I've saved £1.25. I'm going to go and buy myself a set. Bought this. And then, of course, like I said, got into space. And again, never saw the big sets. They were kind of what you had for presents back then. But I did buy myself a lot of kind of small and medium-sized sets. And then drifted away from Lego after space. So it was Pirates, bit of City, or a bit of Legoland, bit of Castle, bit of Pirates, bit of Space, and that was it. And then I remember having this Technic bike and thinking, it just didn't feel like Lego to me, so that was never of interest to me. Like this set I remember buying for myself. This is probably the biggest set I bought for myself because I think I had birthday money. I remember buying this and being like really excited that I had quite a large set, which is probably about 30 pieces. The only thing I do remember about this though is that in the tree there, that piece was green. I don't think it actually ever existed in green. Certainly not at that point. But it was actually brown. The piece in there was brown. But on the picture it was green, and I was thinking, oh, that was a bit odd. But yeah. So far I found like 3. It's funny actually, because I was going through the sets when I was picking out my top ones, and I picked out 3 that I thought I remember us having as kids. And I say us because I think all the castle sets were me and my brothers. And so far I've been right, because all the ones I found are the ones that I remember us having. So I'll show you guys those in a sec. But look at these things. Those are a flop, aren't they? Mm-hmm. So this is one of the first sets I ever remember building when I was like, I don't know, barely able to build, barely able to put them together. So I would have been like 3, 4. It was this little guy down here. I remember he was like one of my favorite characters at the time. And then obviously when minifigures started getting bigger, they kind of disappeared. But I thought they were quite cool. Oh yeah, here's that bike. Yeah, so I built this thing and I was just like, what a crock of shit. And to be honest with you, I don't think Technic have really moved past this. Personally, I always look at them and think, what a pile of dog shit. So right, I've gone through all those instruction booklets. There's all sorts in there. Space. This is the first ever space set I remember getting. But I don't think I bought this. No, I don't think I bought this. I think my brother bought this with his pocket money because he's a couple of years older than me. So this is one of his first sets. Obviously, everything had Legoland on it then, but because it didn't really distinguish the themes. You didn't go in and see, ooh, Lego Space, Lego Castle. It wasn't any of that. Everything was just Legoland. So there we go. That is. There's some castle stuff in there. So we have got. They are in pretty awful condition for obvious reasons. I mean, they are 40 years old, but so this was one of them, and this is one of the ones I've picked, I believe. This set with the little the maiden in. I remember playing with this all the time, and I always thought that kind of headdress piece was pretty cool. There was nothing about the woman to make her a woman. You know, it was just a bog standard smile on face, the same as everyone had at that point. But yeah, like there's just the instructions. It's just, you know, it was just one bag, and then it was just like, that's actually quite basic. That's actually quite easy, but there was a lot of sets where, you know, they would just jump to having like a bunch of pieces on. So there's that one. That's one. I had this one, which is the boat, which is kind of a little bit odd because there weren't really any boats in that era. The castle, they didn't use boats. Boats hadn't, like, you know, if I remember rightly, like the Vikings came across on boats, but it wasn't something we'd really done. So that kind of doesn't really make sense that there was boats with knights on. I don't think that ever happened. But that was a pretty cool set. I remember playing that all the time. And it's kind of weird because these are kind of classed as lion knights. But back then they had two types of armor. They had the two what are those things called? What the hell, why can't I think of that? Axe? Two like long axes. And also you obviously had this guy who was the main dragon knight. Lion knight. This guy here. And the other one's got a chest plate of armor. But yeah, they all always had these. So I remember playing this guy being like the leader, being like the actual knight, and these were just the grunts. But they changed that, and I think everybody was wearing the Lion Knight's gear after that. And then we also had this one. I think this was the first time we always called him like a robber, but I think he's supposed to be like a peasant. So I had this set as well with a cart. This cart thing was pretty cool. And the good thing is that these pieces that you use either side of the cart were the same pieces that were used in the castle, which I'll show you next. So you could just swap out one or two of the plates to have a black piece, which I always thought was pretty cool. So I would do it so it was either side of the portcullis, and then make this with grey instead of black, and maybe swap out a couple of the pieces with like these. There's a couple of 1x6s on here that are black as well, and 2x4s. So I swap them out for grey ones from the castle, so I could put black into the castle and then have this as a completely different, same build, but grey and blue instead of black and blue. Yeah, that was, I guess, the first. I don't know whether I call that a mock, but I mean, these kind of things we built all the time on the back, where it shows you like alternate things you can build. But yeah, so but we used to make our own like little thingies out of them and color swap and stuff like that. So that was, I think, our first version of mocking, I guess, at the time. I remember this thing as well. It was pretty cool at the back because the jail was held in place by this flag. So you push the flag down and it stopped the door from opening. That was pretty cool. I actually remember that being a cool feature. Because it didn't really have play features in a lot of these things at that point. It was just kind of what it is. You sit in a carriage and you pull a carriage along. So if you want to call that a play feature, fair enough. But prior to this, the horses were actually quite new at this stage, because up until then they'd been brick built. Because the Lego Castle started in 78. So by 83, I think they'd moved into like horses. But yeah, and I always liked this helmet piece here with like there was three general types of helmets. You had the one with the nose plate, you had the one with the chin strap, and then you had this one, which is obviously the jousting knight type thing. But those are pretty cool. For a set that big, for a set like that now, it'd be about 30 pages long, but this is about 5 pages. So you can just see, like, between 7 and 8, the amount of pieces they've just added on. No reference to what they are. Like I said, now and then they would do this, so you can kind of work out where it was going and break it down a little bit. But generally, it was just, yeah, this is what it should look like now. Add what you need to add to make it look like that. So I thought it was pretty cool. Like, I liked all that kind of stuff. I like the whole challenge of building, for me, has always been the thing. Oh, I got a space in here by mistake. And then this was the main boy. Now these eventually got called Black Falcon or Falcon Knights or something like that. But at the time they were just called Black Knights, I think, or the Black Knights. We didn't really treat them as bad guys. We treated them as like teams working together. I'm not really sure why. I don't ever remember who the enemy was. But that seemed, obviously that was more realistic to history than fighting against gargoyles and things like that, and fighting against like thieves and robbers, because you're not getting in a fight with these guys, like, so they were the only people armed around at the time. So So these were pretty cool. Um, yeah, I do. I think I don't know. I think I like the black over the grey in general, but I do remember trying to build this version of the castle with the red door thing and trying to work out what the hell that was, and I couldn't get it to work because it doesn't really show you how it works properly and what the whole point of it was. But obviously, they just try to do it with the pieces you get from around the portcullis. So I suppose it's kind of a half-assed door. I'm not sure what that was all about, but yeah, this is the main set 6073. So this was the knight's castle, and then you had the king's castle as well. So this is like basically where like Sir Lancelot would live, for example, if it was based on King Arthur, and then King Arthur would have his own Camelot or castle, which was slightly bigger. And it came out the same year, I believe, or the bigger castle came out maybe the following year. But this was the first sort of decent castle since the yellow one. And yeah, this was the set that my parents got for us, and it was like came down Christmas morning, and it was built, and we were just playing with it. And I always thought people have just said that's a bizarre concept. But I was watching ACOB the other night, and Sean was saying that he's going to be building a set for his son for Christmas or whatever. And I was like, there you go. See, I'm not the only person that, because we were too young to have built these ourselves, but we weren't too young to play with them. So it made no sense to, if we tried building this, it would have been all over the place at that point, because we were like, I was like 4 or 5, and my brother was like 6 or 7. So, yeah, it wouldn't have worked. So that castle has got, just trying to count how many stages there are in this castle. 8, 9, 10, 7, 6. So this castle has got a total of, that's 24 stages. And the first stage is like the figures and stuff. And the second stage and the last stage is it built. So you're talking like maybe 20 stages between, starting and built. Oops, I got that the wrong way on. I think I've shown this off in the stream before, but it's like, here's an example. This is a really good example, actually. So you go from that on stage 13. And that's quite a lot to be on there at stage 13. You go from that to that. I mean, it's a bunch of plates, basically, but still, for a 4-year-old kid, they wouldn't have been able to do that, like, and get it right anyway. So, and then, yeah, so it was like 15 and then 16. Just a bunch of extra pieces added. I mean, the pictures barely like overlap each other even. So, but yeah, so I don't know. Like I said, we used to take it apart and rebuild it all the time. It had a working portcullis. It had a little prison in there, and you could open it out. So it was like a long thing, like a Helm's Deep type thing, as opposed to like a squared castle. And that was about it. That was all the play functions it had. So anyway, I've neglected the chat for a while. Let's see if anyone's saying anything. I understand technically did Magisto say they wouldn't be available until an hour after your regular. No, it wasn't Magisto. Magisto was free anytime. It was Nimble, because we planned for him to head up this show because he knows Magisto quite well, and obviously it's his forte in terms of medieval and castle theme. So we had plans for him to start up, but we didn't want to kind of start it without him, so we decided to start a little bit later instead. That was okay for Magisto. So we just decided to do that. So it's just an hour later. But yeah, so apologies for that. Okay, I have browsed from what I see. I like 6098 King Leo's Castle from 2000. Ooh, well, I haven't got brick set up yet. So hold on to that thought, Sarah. Throw it in on the other show. And what I'll do is I'm going to go through and bring some of those up on brick set when we get a chance. Leo is my favorite of the Lego Kings. I already that's or oh shit. Link, sorry, Nimble. I didn't see that. I didn't know there was such a person as Leo. Right, what are we doing here now? Linky. Okay, invite guest, copy. So I keep forgetting Nimble hasn't got access to the stream yet, like the other guys have. There you go, mate. Send it out too. I could have. Well, I was going to say it would have been harder to put in the chat because I'm not connected to my phone. Guys, I just got back from the Lego store. I'm $400 broker than I was. Ooh, do we all want to have a guess in the chat of what he purchased, or has he already put it and I've missed it? Oaktown's out there. Oaktown, how you doing, mate? I think I forgot to add King Leo to the bracket later. I blame Brickset for being shit. Well, actually, mate, I took it up to 40 because I found loads of extra figs that I wanted to add, and then I realized 40 doesn't work in a bracket. But I just like the idea of those figs being in there, so I think I'm going to leave it there, and we'll just cross that bridge when we get to it. Because I found a load of extra figs. I was like, "Ooh, that's gonna go. Ooh, that's gonna go in there." Right, here's the man himself now. How we doing?
We all right?
Yeah.
Fuck's sake. Just trying to sort out my my camera.
Yeah, so I was just saying to the guys that when I was going through the figgies, I found a bunch of extra ones. I was like, "Oh, we can't not have him in there." Like there was some evil wizard or something, and I was like, "Oh, we got to check him in."
I said to you, didn't I? Just add, if you want to change any, just do it. Brickset was being such a pain in the arse for me, mate. And I got 32 characters down, and it was just proper messing me about. So I thought, sod it, I'll just send you 32, and if you want to change any, change them.
It is a nightmare because some of them I was typing in the description, like, I don't know, like peasant or something, and it was saying no figs match this. And I was like, oh, okay. So I typed in the code you gave me, and the one came up, and it said the description was the code, and then peasant. And I was like, what? So why did peasant not work? It was stupid. So it took me ages to do. So I had to copy and paste your list back into WhatsApp so that I'd have a deletable version of the list so that I could delete them as I found them. So I was going on to Brickset, typing in the code, finding it, adding it to a wanted list so that I could then get the photos separate, going back into your message, deleting that one, going back into Brickset, finding the next one, keep going like that. And then when I finished, I went into my wanted list. So I had all the figures. So I wanted to make sure I had all 32, and then I had to go through each picture and download the picture onto my phone so the pictures were consistent and clear. And then I had to go onto the brackets thing and get them from my phone. And I did all that whilst walking home.
This is the stuff that the viewers don't see.
No, I know. And I'm like,
this is all the horrible work.
It was actually quite cold as well. So I'm walking home like that. And I'm thinking, I could do it putting gloves on. But then I won't be able to thing the keyboard. I won't be able to press my phone. I was just like, no, I got to do it. But I completely forgot that we had this warm up. So I could have done some of it on here. But although I have been gassing for most of the time. But
it was a pain in the arse for me, Brickset, because I don't have an account with them. So I tried registering one, but then it popped up. Like after I registered one, it said that they're having issues with their mailing lists at the moment. So if you don't receive your verification email, then try again in a few hours. And I just kept trying it, and I've still not had it. So it was just absolutely heaving with adverts for me as well.
Yeah, I think it was Ultra actually. Shout out to Ultra who told me, because I was trying to access Brickset once from a stream really early on, and I'd never really used it prior to that because it's not really, I'm not really much of a Lego historian. I got what I got, I buy what I buy, and I don't really care about where did it first come from, when was it first conceived, what year did it come out? I don't give a shit. I didn't, should I say, at the time. So I'm trying to use Brickset on stream, and he was like, you do know that if you've got an account, you don't have to watch ads. And I was like, okay. And that was the first time I learned it. The stuff you learn from the chat is crazy. And then last night I had Liam, or the night before last, was it last night? Yeah, last night I had Liam thanking me and I was just like, mate, most of what I've learned, I've either learned from somebody else or I've had to learn myself. But
in this game, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. Is these guys who help you with it. So I found my instruction booklets for all my Legoland sets, or my Lego castle sets, as they're called now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try and dig out the figgies if you can hold it down for a little bit. The only other thing I've got to try and do is this bracket thing. So it's kind of weird because I set it up just to play with a few Star Wars figs I had from the previous thing. And It's a really weird system because it won't. I can't delete them. I've got to delete the whole thing and start again. So I'm just trying to work out. If there's a way of doing it, because it keeps saying you can edit it, but when you go into edit, I added the 40 characters, and it says now you've got 72 characters, and I'm like, I thought the whole point of editing it was to redo it, like, you know. So
It's bad, really, because I'm useless with this sort of stuff as well. So I've not been any help either. This is where Slurpee needs to get off his arse and pack in that stop motion for an hour.
Yeah. Right, edit.
Because we bloody miss him.
How many figures? How many images are there?
I'm just going to have a look who's in the chat because I've not really read it.
Yeah, you do that, mate. I'll finish off this tier list. Once I can get it on, once I've finished putting the figures in, I can do the rest on the thing. It'll be a lot easier.
So when I joined, so said hello to Seb if you're listening. All right, Lake. Hoarder 66, how's it going, mate? Sarah, always lovely to see you. Mayo, how's it going down under, buddy? Did anyone in the chat pick up any Insiders weekend?
Hoarder said that he's been to the Lego store and he's 400 quid worse off.
400 quid.
But I don't know what he's bought for that. He said it's all over the place. So I think what that means is he bought a bunch of stuff.
Interesting. I didn't realise the Insiders weekend was in store too. So yeah, that like you say, that's stuff to know. Ultra, how's it going, mate? You messaged me earlier on Insta, and yes, you did indeed pick up the line Knights Castle. He said this is his first ever castle set, and I said to him, well, you've probably started off with the best ever. So congrats, mate, and all the best with that. Enjoy it. I didn't actually pick it up. I said my piece of it. I was very close. It was in my basket. I've said it before. I'm a Lego castle fan that doesn't like castles, so it's a strange one. I'm more into the medieval, like villages and peasants and that sort of stuff. So yeah, especially when I was building Bluestone, a castle just wouldn't have fit. So I had to make that. I made the decision that a castle would have took away the storylines of the town, and it would have been a vocal point, which I didn't want. So yeah, castles. I'm a Lego castle fan that doesn't like castles. What are your thoughts on the medieval village set? Fantastic. I've got two of them. Built one, put it in Bluestone. Got one and used it for an alternate build. Absolutely fantastic set. Would have probably... I would have liked to have picked up a third and just kept it sealed. But that is actually the set that's like reignited my nostalgia, let's say, for Castle, and wanted to get me back into it. As soon as I saw that, I went day one on its release, picked it up in the morning, and yeah, that's what started it all for me, I suppose. We need more stuff like that, you know. Lego, how many castles you need? Do you know what I mean? May keep an eye out for one then. I'm pretty sure it is retiring, or it's retired already. So if it's still in stock and you do plan on getting it, I would jump on it now, Ultra, because yeah, I'm pretty sure it's retiring. Muttley, how's it going, mate? Mayo bought the Italian Riviera. Nice. Was it full price, Mayo, or was that part of the discount stuff? I know it was double points anyway. And them GWPs were cool. Papa Rex. My brother had the Yellow Castle when we were kids. Now, that is a real piece of history. And if you still had it, it'd be worth a lot of dollar. Your first as an adult was the BDP Wolf Den. Another fantastic set. I mean, 2025 was probably the year of the Wolf Pack. Yeah, we had the Wolf Pack come back in or was that 2024? No, 2024, it was in the medieval town square, wasn't it? But we had the Wolfpack Beastmaster in the CMF, didn't we, this year? Feels like last year, doesn't it? Lego releases always mess with my frame of mind when it comes to thinking like what year it is. Like, I can't believe that it feels ages ago. But yeah, them Wolfpack Beastmasters were heavily sought after, weren't they? Muttley, your sister had the classic Yellow Castle. It eventually ended up in my childhood Lego. I bet a lot of people started with that. I bet, I bet it's in a lot of people's bins, like, or in their parents' loft, just collecting dust, and it's now people who don't realise the value of it. The BDP Castles Ultra, again, I admire them, but I like to admire them from afar. There's stuff that I wouldn't get. Like, if I was going to buy a castle, it would have been the Lion Knights Castle. Like, it was the one thing I was very close and debating. But again, it's strange to say I'm a Lego castle fan who's not really into the castles. I'm more into the medieval villages, the peasants, and the real world, really. Like, if you're making a medieval scene, which, you know what, I had my own village, how many castles do you want? I think Lego need to sort of realise that a bit. Like, once you've got a few, even 2 castles, like, I don't know. Again, I'm coming from a different point of view, and I do understand that. Muttley don't have any of that anymore. It's a shame. It's because there's no room in your loft, mate, full of battle packs. Papa Rex, you still have a lot of the old yellow bricks and a few shields and swords. That's cool. See, I'm pretty sure as well those knights in the Yellow Castle actually had stickers, didn't they, on the torsos? They were like the pink crowns, weren't they? Excuse me. And I think, like, them sticker packs now, if you come across one in good condition, obviously new, they're very, very expensive. Good evening, Lego lovelies. Good evening, Madlib. Pleasure to see you. Dungeons and Dragons, Muttley, is, it's a sick castle, and that one tempted me too because I loved the little inn that come with it. I'm not sure what it was called. You'll probably know. But yeah, the little inn, the little bar, well, pub, I thought that was fantastic. And obviously the figs too.
Oh,
they're unreal. And Vader's castle, I suppose it counts. It is technically a Lego castle. I think Lego Castle is a bit of a sleeping giant. I think there's a lot of people, whether they're into it or not, well, whether they buy it or not, let's say, a lot of people are admirers of it and would probably dip their toes in if it was a wave still. I suppose and I had this conversation with my old man. Is Lego castles becoming, well, not Lego castles, is castles and medieval sort of stuff becoming less prevalent in the youth of today? Like, I look at my younger cousins and it's all like Marvel and superheroes, and it's very sci-fi and futuristic. And I remember being that age and I was into like swords and, you know, going to castles like local. Because this is strange too, like for the people who aren't watching from the UK, we're not really much further than half hour away from a castle at all times, probably. I have a couple within like 20-30 minutes. So yeah, it's more like history for us. But yeah, like our kids growing up just not asked about it anymore. Is, you know, Marvel and that sort of stuff just completely taken over. Kids aren't playing with swords anymore. They're playing with like, I don't know, blasters and that sort of stuff. So maybe that has something to do with it.
I can't get it. This fucking thing is a nightmare. It just, it gives you the selection of figs that you've selected, but you can, once you click them and put them into one of the boxes, it doesn't tell you you've used it. It's still in the box, still there. So it's impossible on a phone to tell which ones you've used and which ones you haven't. It's just fucking shit. It's a piece of shit. It's compared to the other thing that we had last week, that worked quite well. But this is just, it's the same company that makes it as well. But the tier thing was actually quite easy to use. This thing is a nightmare. We gotta jump on the other stream now as well.
Oh shit, yeah.
I'm gonna have to be head down, switched off for the first half hour, I think, because I gotta try and get this up and running. I can't do it because I haven't got it. I can't do it. It just doesn't work properly.
Yeah. Well, I will head over to that stream now. So chat, you know where to be.
Dive over to the other stream, guys. We'll be there now.
Ta-da.